All right, so this is step by step for when you're recording in the Audient, when you're recording onto the Multitrack, which is into Pro Tools or some kind of multi-track tape machine or something like that. So step number one is decide which channel you want to use. Remember the channel that you want to use. When you are in the studio, and we're going to go in the studio here, let's go ahead and look at this. And what I'm going to do is we are going to go into the studio right here across from the Audient. So I'm going to go out the door, and we're going to go into the hallway here and go in here. And we're going to turn and we're going to go down here, boop, boop, boop. Okay, there we go. Out the control room into the studio here. Did I say studio early? Sorry, that was a mistake on my part. So here we go, out the control room into the studio. This is the studio room that's connected directly to the Audient. And down here on the bottom, you can see there is our mic panel down here. So what we want to do with that mic panel is plug your mic cable into the proper input in the mic patch bay. And you will need to know your control room and your channel number. So what channel do you want to record into? Channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So you're going to plug into that channel down here. And actually, Dr. Bu, this is actually something that we've had on the website for a long time. So you can go on there and you can check out the New York building, what it looks like, even if you're not in New York. It's something so we put for people out of the state so they can check out and see what our facilities look like. So it's actually been here since before COVID has been a thing, which is I've just been using it in my lessons to show this part since it's hard to go into the studios right now. So we can go in here and so you're going to plug into one of these. So this actually has only 16 inputs on it, but that's okay because really you're probably not going to be recording more than 16 things most of the time at one time. We don't have any rooms big enough for orchestras and stuff like that. But every room has one of these mic panels in it, so we can go ahead and plug in down here. And the one you're probably going to want to use, I believe it's this one here. I don't remember off the top of my head what the control room number is, but maybe we can actually check it out. Let's go out here in the hallway again and see if it's clear enough to read. Let's see here. Control room B. Yeah, I think. Control room C. Yeah, you can see it right here on the wall over here on the side. Control room C is the Audient right there. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say, okay, we want to make sure we're doing control room C and we are in Studio D. You can see Studio D is right there. So you're going to remember that. So you're going to need to know your control room and your channel number. So we go back over here. We make sure we say, okay, we're going to go into control room C, which I think is A, B, C. I think it's this one here. It's been a while since I've been in the studio. I haven't been in that studio all year because I actually took a break in the beginning of the year. So we go in here, we plug it into, let's say channel 1. So we plug it into, wait, what channel did I have in the notes here? Do I have it in the notes? Oh, channel 5, okay. So let's say we plug it into channel 5. So we're gonna go in here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, channel 5 right there. You're gonna plug the cable into channel 5, then you're gonna plug in your microphone. And your microphone, you're gonna put it on a mic stand. Do I have a mic stand here? Yes. So we got a mic stand right over here. We're gonna put the mic on the mic stand and we're gonna plug it into the microphone. And that's all right here. Set up the mic, plug in the mic, look at the channel you plug the mic into. Now we're gonna go back into the studio. So or into the control room rather. So we're in the studio, we're gonna go back in here and walk around the corner here, go this way, down the hall, turn right, down to the end of the hall, ba-doop, ba-doop. I wish I had a controller so I could control this like a video game. In here, and so now we're going to look at the board, and our channel number 5 is right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So everything we're doing is going to be right up here on these channels here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is right there. So we're going to be working with this part here of the input pod. So we're going to push the MTR button on that channel. Let me just go ahead and open up the other PDF here so we can see that more easily. So the button we're pressing is this one right over here, the meter button right there. Boom. That meter button right there is what we want to make sure we're pressing because that's going to flip these meters here because we want to have everything on the long meter here, so we can see the detail of it. And really, the level you want to be hitting is right here at 0 VU. We want to be hitting that level right there for most of our signal. So we're going to have the person who's singing or playing or whatever, we're going to make sure they're doing it at their normal level. So number 6 here, you press the meter button on that channel. This flips the meters. Now you're going to ask yourself, do we want phantom power? If yes, we're going to press the phantom power 48 volt button. That's right down here, number 10. If no, don't press it. If it's a dynamic microphone, do not press it. If it's a ribbon microphone, certainly do not press it, because phantom power will destroy ribbon microphones. So make sure you know the answer to that before you get in here. Step number 8, turn up the gain knob until you have a good signal. If you have too little gain, it's not going to be loud enough. You're going to be too much noise later on in your recording. If you have too much gain, you're going to be clipping. Where you want to aim for is right in here at 0 VU. So you want your level to be peaking right around here. Number 9, the short fader mix button. That is right down here on the short fader. Boop, 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 boop. Let's go down. That's the short fader mix button. So at this point is when I like to press that short fader mix button. If we look here in our little diagram here, our picture, that is right over. Come on. It's right here on the short fader. We're going to push that button, and what that's going to do is it's going to send the signal to the mix bus. Right now there is no signal though, because we have not turned up that short fader. So we're going to push the short fader mix button. We're going to turn up the short fader to unity. We should be hearing the sound. Now, one thing that I'm realizing that this is actually assuming that you've already actually done a couple things over here. Let me just go through that and show you real quick. What this is assuming is that you've already gone ahead and turned up your control room level here a little bit and uncut it. And also, where are we? Also, see this long fader right over here? This fader is your master fader. It's your stereo mix bus fader. Also, you want to make sure you put that all the way up as well. All right, so turn up the short fader to unity. You should be hearing the sound. If yes, great, continue. If no, stop, go back and troubleshoot. So when you get to step number 10 here, if you're not hearing anything, make sure you go back and figure out where the problem's happening. Are you seeing the level on the meter there? Is your main fader turned up? Your left-right fader turned up? Are you seeing levels jumping on your stereo left-right fader, which is going to be stereo left-right meter, which is going to be right over here. So there's a few things you got to troubleshoot and you got to take care of. Make sure if you're not hearing any sound. If you are hearing sound, great. Let's continue. It's like a choose your own adventure, right? If you get to this point, if you want to, do you want to take the gold? Yes, keep going. Do you not want to take the gold? Okay, go to chapter 12. Okay, so number 11 is disengage the short fader mix button. What we want to make sure is that when we have the mix fader buttons on these, so this one here, the mix button here on the short fader, is not going to be pressed at the same time as the mix button on the long fader, because that would be double monitoring. It's not going to break anything, but it's going to sound weird, so you don't want to double monitor. Never want to double monitor. All right. Next, we're going to go over to Pro Tools. In Pro Tools, we're going to create the audio track and we're going to name it. So let's go ahead and open up Pro Tools here. And we're gonna go in here and just make a new track, mono audio track, boom. Let's give this a name. Let's give it a name, kick drum, whatever. And in here, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna choose on our interface what input we're using. So for example, if I'm coming into 8.1, 2, 3, or 4, in this case we said number 5, but I don't have 5 on here, I only have 4. So let's go ahead and use number 4. Well, what that would mean is that on my Audient, on the Audient, I would have to press the button for number 4 because my Pro Tools, I want it to set to number 4. So over here, no matter what channel I'm in, I want to press the button for whatever I've got set up in my Pro Tools. That's the main important part. So create the audio track or tracks, name them. They'll probably be mono. Almost always microphones are mono. The number of tracks you create depends on how many mics you're recording. So if we're recording 3 different microphones at the same time, we're going to record 3 different tracks. So I can record 2 more tracks here, boom, and we could name these kick, snare, and hi-hat, whatever it is. And maybe this one here could be A.1. This could be A.2. And actually, I could set these up all in a row by just holding down some fancy buttons and cascading them, 1, 2, and 3 right there. Boom, there we've got that. Okay, but that really depends on what your setup is. That's going to be case by case. So you set the input, that's step number 13, keep everything 1-to-1. So realistically at SAE, we have more than 4 ADAT inputs. I was just doing that because that's what I have right here on my connected up currently. So at SAE, we've got 24 inputs, so you can record actually 24 channels. So on the Audient, if we're coming into channel number 5, we want to have Pro Tools set up for input number 5. I can't show you that on my screen, but that's what we could do. And then we can set the output on it, keep everything 1-to-1. Remember, if we're coming into channel number 5, we set the input for number 5, we're going to also set the output for number 5. What that does is it sends it back to the same channel we were just on. So the short fader and the long fader are on the same channel number. We really want that to be like that, to keep everything easy breezy in our heads. If we start scattering things around, it's not impossible to keep track of, not at all. People do that and it happens a lot, but if you can avoid it, avoid it. Keep things as simple as possible. I like to keep everything 1-to-1. I come into channel 5, I go routing matrix, number 5 goes to input number 5 on Pro Tools, change the output on Pro Tools to number 5, and it comes into channel number 5 again. Everything is right there lined up, short fader, long fader, same channel, boom, we're good to go. We're doing everything on that same fader. That's my recommendation, but again, if you want to deviate from that, that's your choice. Number 15 here, push the I button on Pro Tools. The I button is this one right here. We push that I button, and then on the Audient, now we're going to go back and we're going to go to the routing matrix and push the button of the input you set up in Pro Tools. Now, you can do the step number 16, doesn't have to be here. You can actually do step number 16 right over here at like step number 11 or 12, basically. You can put this before you do the Pro Tools stuff. When I'm moving fast, I often do it as well. I just like to have my destination set up ahead of time, especially when I'm teaching, so that people can see where things are going to. But you don't have to do it like that. Step number 16 can actually go before you start doing Pro Tools stuff. It's not going to break anything. It's not going to hurt anything if you hit that routing matrix button before you set your Pro Tools stuff up. Again, this should be the same channel you are on. Remember, 1-to-1, routing matrix is going to be number 5. If you look at Pro Tools, you should see the signal on the channel's meter. This here, you should be seeing a signal here on this meter now. You'll see the green line going up and down. It'll look like this. See how that's like doing that? Here, let me get that. We're gonna see that. Okay, we're going to be seeing that there. We're not going to be hearing it yet, but we're going to be seeing it. So if you're not seeing a level happening here, then something weird is going on. So you want to go back and check things. So if you see the signal on the channel's meter, continue. If not, go back and troubleshoot. Usually go back to step number 12. You don't need to go all the way back to the beginning, just step number 12. Okay, so if we see that meter bopping up and down there, number 18, push the long fader mix button and then turn up the long fader. The long fader mix button is on the Audient. It is going to be in this section down here, and you can kind of see it. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's like right over here, these little buttons there. And if we look at our window here, the long fader mix button is, there we go, it's right up here. Mix right there, boom. That mix button right there is for the long fader. You want to push that button. Once you push that button, you can turn up the long fader. Do not turn up the long fader to unity. It's probably going to be too loud. Turn it up so it just sounds good within the mix. You should be hearing the sound at this point on the monitor path. Now we're listening to the monitor path. So then what you do is you record on the track in Pro Tools, go over to Pro Tools, hit that record arm button, and then start recording with the 3 key, boom, record, and you'll see it's recording stuff into Pro Tools. Now, in this case, it's recording silence because I don't have anything connected up to 8.1, but you get the idea. On NumberCAD, it's the 3 key or Command Space or F12. You have options for your shortcut for recording into Pro Tools. So one more time, again, we're going to do the same thing again, just with some better pictures here. Step number 1, decide which channel you want to use. In this case, number 5. Step number 6, These are just illustrations that go with everything. Step number 6 in the, so here, wait, let's go back here. So step number 1, and then we get to step number 6, press the MTR button on that channel. That's right over here. Press the MTR button on that channel. The MTR button is right here. Number 6, number 7, phantom power, yes, no. That's down here. Number 7, number 8, turn up the gain knob right there, okay? So this is just like more illustrated of what we just did. We get to step number 9, push the mix fader button, turn up the short fader to unity. That's step number 10, and then once you hear the sound, unpush that mix button. When we get to number 13 in Pro Tools, make sure your input is set to the correct input. Make sure your output is set to the correct output. Number 15, the I button there, so we're input monitoring, and then record on the track. Number 16, routing matrix. Push number 5 right there. Only use the shift button to access channels 13 through 14. Do not use that shift button otherwise. Number 18, push the long fader mix button. And again, I'm using these here in the list over here. These are just illustrations in here so you know exactly what to do. And then number 19 is turn up that long fader, and we should be good to go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording now.